So thank you everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining from. We officially welcome you to our Fusion Financials General Ledger training. This will be a 12-hour comprehensive training. We'll do a lot of hands-on activities, and we are in very good hands with Shaikat will conduct the session. Okay. So before we actually get started, I'm going to spend just a minute or two talking a little bit about ERP Web Tutor. If you have taken any course from us or if you are fairly new, just a little bit of background. So we are launched in 2012 primarily as a video blogging site. So we prepared a lot of free videos on the web. And since then, we have created over 500 hours of content, includes the self-paced content that we have created and also some of the trainings. Okay. Since then, we have trained more than 5,000 students. We really feel good about that we have been able to reach such a large audience in this time. We have visitors from over 130 countries. We have actually helped students change careers. So they were completely non-Oracle, people working in with hardware. They're also working in network. So they have learned and they have completely switched careers. So we really feel proud to have made a difference in their lives in that sense. And we will continue to innovate and motivate with one and only one objective. That is, we will never compromise on quality. So a lot of trainings have been done. We are sometimes, taking the time, but we make sure that we deliver quality. And that's probably one of the reasons why, it's been this long that we haven't conducted any finance. So we were just waiting for the right time, having everything ready before we can continue this session. So that's all I wanted to cover. Saikat, over to you. I'm going to make you the presenter. The session is being recorded. Feel free to post your questions either through the chat or you can also unmute yourself and then ask your questions. Just one thing, as long as you are not talking, if you can mute yourself, that will help us protect the quality of the recording. Okay, thank you. So Michael, I'm going to make you the presenter.
Okay.
There's some noise, Saikat, from your end. It sounds like a wind blowing, something like that. So if you can just take care of that. There you go.
Is it better now?
Yes. So that's gone. Yeah. Go ahead. Thank you.
Let me share my screen. So are you able to see my screen?
Yes. Go ahead.
Very good. Okay. So thank you all for joining this Fusion Financials GL session. So the way we have designed this session is to spend 2 days on common setup and rest of the 2 days on the GL setup and GL case studies and hands-on etc. So as I hear from the introduction that you guys have worked on 11i and R12 Oracle EB's R12, so it's a good background for you to start. Like for me also, I have worked for before Fusion Financials. I was in EBA's R12 financials only, so we can definitely get good leverage from the knowledge and experience you have. We'll make the session more interactive so that it will be meaningful for both for you and me. Okay, so let me start with the cloud financial overview. So if you as you're new to cloud, let me give you what is Oracle vision on cloud. And there is a lot of rumor that Oracle EB's R12 might like Oracle is not going to support after a few years, and cloud is the future for Oracle ERP. So the vision that Oracle had is to launch Fusion, launch a ERP which is blend of all the best practices from its existing ERP like PeopleSoft, Oracle, EBS, and JD Edwards, etc. So yes, Oracle has launched it, and it has give it, and if you, as you go through, you will see, it has got a lot of functionalities which are really good and enriched from the best practices and the experience or the evolution that has happened in the ERP area. So we'll see like lot of good, lot of useful dashboards, reporting, approval. Every area, Oracle has done a lot of improvement. So Fusion will have those features available, and we can. That's why Oracle really stopped selling kind of they're not pursuing EBS anymore. They are pursuing cloud, Fusion Financial Cloud, Fusion Cloud everywhere, and so if you see here, Fusion, the application name is called Fusion application, and it can be hosted, like it can be, it has got many options to host. As you see on the screen, it can be on-premise. So Fusion application can be implemented on-premise, can be implemented on a private cloud like Amazon, can be implemented on public cloud, which is hosted by Oracle. So private cloud is nothing but, it is behind a firewall, and it's more or less on-premise because you will have adequate access on the servers and the applications. But Oracle recommends public cloud all the way because it will be cost effective, as it needs high high resource intensive infrastructure to install cloud application like Fusion application. So public cloud is something what Oracle recommends. Now public cloud, by the name, if you see, it is public, means it is like you as a customer can get a subscription of the cloud, and based on the subscription, based on the subscription, you will have different like you'll get the application access, but you will not get any server access. So you'll get application access, and based on that, Oracle provide you the access to the instance. And there are different different type of subscription. We'll come to that later. So this is what public cloud is, and this is Oracle recommends to go for it. So the infrastructure will lie with Oracle. That's it. That is public cloud. So any question on this? Okay. Are you able to hear me clearly, guys?
Yeah, we are good. We are good. Please proceed.
Okay, that's fine. So so this is different type of architecture or the options of implementing Oracle Cloud. Now if you see here, there are different option of scalability that Oracle has provided. Now based on the data volume, you can go for a subscription which can be like small, medium, or large. So if you have large volume of data, that the large volume of transaction that happens every day, then you can go for a large like the subscription will be based on the large transaction. So the configuration will be provided to you accordingly. And if it is less volume of data, like ERP Tutor has got this subscription. I'm sure this is a small category subscription because it doesn't have doesn't have many transactions that happens every day. So this is kind of a non-meter service offering, and metered service offering is like it is like it based on the number of transactions that happens business has to pay to Oracle on the number of transactions and the volume of transactions. Oracle calculate the subscription fee, and based on that, customer has to make the payment to Oracle. Fine. Okay. So another point that I would like to highlight here is like you can always scale up and scale down the application based on, like, if the business has got a merger with some other company, the data volume will raise, and you can scale up. So Oracle will accordingly add resource to the server that is provided to the business, and it can be scaled up, or in other cases it can be scaled down as well. So this is another option that is given as part of subscription. Now I'd like to explain what is multi-tenancy meant here. So multi-tenancy is another thing, like when we say public cloud, we are not like it is up to Oracle. They will launch your application somewhere in their infrastructure, and same infrastructure can be used by other client as well. But Oracle will maintain all your data security, SLA, everything. So that's why it is called multi-tenancy. So same architecture being used by multiple clients, and also like there like how the infrastructure resourcing happens. By multi-tenancy, Oracle ensure that when your business is on your peak hour, say UK, say on one particular infrastructure there is one UK business running as well as one US business running. So based on the business hours, peak business hours, that maximum resources are provided to one country or one geography or one client, based on their peak hours. And once the peak hour is over, the resources will be taken off, and other clients will have their will be provided more resources based on their peak hours. So that's what Oracle manages it on it, in when they do the as part of the SLA, they manage the speed of the application and etc. So this is what I mean by multi-tenancy. Okay. Any question on this?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that
go on.
typically multi-tenancy is a metered service, right?
Multi-tenancy, no, multi-tenancy is not a metered service. Metered service is like the type of subscription, it can be based on number of transactions. The meter service will be like as if you have switched on your meter based on the number of transactions for this month and the volume. There is a calculation logic. Based on that, the subscription fee will be determined. So that is meter service. Okay. But multi-tenancy is like same infrastructure will be provided will be used by multiple
Multiple
clients.
customers. Yeah.
Multiple customers, but for the customer there will be no difference as such, where the server is located, and whether other clients are using the same server. So it will be all Oracle managing, in the back end. As a customer, it will be like, there is no difference as such. Does it make sense?
Sure.
Is it Kumar?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Kumar.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, that's fine. So if we are clear, we'll move to the next slide if you have no more questions. Okay. Now, coming to the different offering that Oracle has provided as part of Fusion application, like there will be Fusion Financial Management. These are called pillars, financial pillar, ACM pillar, supply chain management pillar, project portfolio management pillar, procurement is a separate pillar, in Fusion, CRM pillar, GRC pillar. But if you see it, they have launched, this is, I'm referring to release 11 pillar structure, but they have launched manufacturing as well. So I need to update this slide. I'll update that later. So manufacturing is also launched by Oracle. So and they are keep on adding more releases and more modules in the process. Okay. So but from a EBS, if we compare with EBS R12, which is the best thing we should do throughout this session, because as you have all got EBS background, it will be easy to refer the EBS, and we can see where we are in terms of what has changed from EBS to cloud. So if you see here, like the structure of the financial module is same, like there will be GL, AP, AR, fixed assets, cash management, all the modules, and that will have like interfaces with procurement. So same structure will be there, like once for a P2P cycle, the purchase order will be raised and it will be receipted, then it will be the payables, it will go to payables for payment, and once the accounting will be done, the accounting will flow to GL. So same inter-module relationship is still there. Okay, no change in the structure. So it's more or less like EBs. Okay. So any question on this?
No question right now.
Okay. So moving to the next slide. So this is now let's see, like let's get into Fusion and see how it looks like. I'll come to the different concepts and structures just to give you a feel. So this is the initial steps that we do, like this is the sign-in screen where we put the credential, and there will be functional setup manager. There will be a menu called setup and maintenance, which is called functional setup manager as well. And so this is how it looks like. I'll give you a brief structure, overview of the screen structure, the way each screen has been designed in Fusion. Then we'll move to the application and see how it looks like in the live application. So if you see here, this is a invoice screen. So the top area where the menus are there, those are called global area, and it has got chat option, search option, administrations, and so the top bar is called global area, which is something has changed from EBs. Like EBs has got a different structure. I'll come to the technical architecture after discussing the Fusion screen structure. Now on the left side, if you see here, you can see the different menu. Okay, like if you go to payables manager, you can see different menu. So similarly here, you can see the different menu for payables, invoices, accounting, etc., which is called the regional area. So on the left bar is called regional area. Now when you click create invoice or edit invoice, you can see the screen of the invoice, and which is called local area. So you are into the sorry, excuse me. So the middle area is called the local area, where basically the screen opens and you can get into a particular screen to see the details. On the right side, if you see here, that is called contextual area, which is something new and which is very useful when you enter transaction into the system. So whenever you open an invoice, you can see those status. Similarly for a journal, you will see what is the status of the journal, whether it is approved or not. So those informations will be shown in the contextual area. Okay, so that's how every screen has been structured: global area, regional area, local area, and contextual area. Okay, any questions?
So contextual area is basically shows the invoice status, a workflow kind of status, or is it paid or not? That kind of
Exactly. It's
information.
more of, yeah, yes, you are Surya, right? Yeah. Okay. So basically the contextual area is more of like kind of you can say some analytical information based on the invoices or the journals. Okay. So whatever data you are you are dealing with, there will be some relevant uh, information that you need as for your analysis, or so those things will come here. So like due date is shown here. When you go to GL journal screen, let me go to the journal screen and show you how it looks like. But before I move on, does it answer your question, Surya?
Yes, I
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'll go to the application and show you how the application looks like. So we are now going to the live application. So this is our ERP Web Tutor Fusion Cloud application. So this is the home screen of the application based on the roles. You can see different menus. So just to give you how the journal screen looks like quickly, we'll come to journal screen. We have so many activities based on the journal entries and all. Just to show you how the journal screen looks like. So if I go to manage journal, is nothing but you are querying a journal. Yeah.
So manage journal, manage journal, is that the contextual area?
No, that is basically that is a navigation, and manage journal is basically to search any journal which are already created. So basically journal inquiry you can think of. Yeah, that is kind of contextual area. If you see on the right side, that's kind of contextual area. But the layout of each screen, that has been designed. Sorry, this is April 17 data is there. So layout of each screen, if I go to the journal screen, then I will show you. So this is the journal screen. So this is the part I was talking about. So if I say click one particular line, and if I go here, every screen has got different informations in the contextual area, which is very essential, very useful in nature. So if you see here, I clicked one of the one of the leg and one of the account string, and it shows what happened, what is the beginning balance, what is the activity happened for that account for this accounting period, and what is the ending balance. Okay, so this is based on different screen and different uses. Oracle has designed the contextual area, which is really useful as we for the business to enter data, and you don't need to navigate to another screen to know what is the balance of that account. Even before entering the journal, when you do the journal entry, we'll show you the moment you enter the account string. Even the journal is not saved or posted, based on the account string, it will show you the balances on that account. So and it will show you what is the beginning balance, what is the activity that has already happened for the period, and that gives you an idea like what happened to the account string combination so far, and based on that you can place your entry. You don't need to go to another screen to search the information. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Now I'll go to the home page again, and we'll go to the setup and maintenance, which is called functional setup manager. Now, obviously, when you say common setup, like the enterprise structure, the chart of accounts, ledger, uh, operating unit in 11 R12, those things, all the setups, all the module setups, common setups, everything comes under setup and maintenance or function setup manager. Okay, so this is the setup and maintenance screen. So on the top left, if you see here, it will show you like what are the subscribed offering we have, what are the provisioned offering we have based on the subscription, so those things can be found, and if we select all, it will show everything. So these are like different application that are either provisioned or subscribed. So we'll come to those things in detail later. Now I'll go to show you how we start here. So we are into setup and maintenance. We can, for any modules to set up, we need to do some of the common setup based on the business requirement. Now, if you see here, there is something called implementation project, which is totally new here, which was not there earlier, right? Now, what is implementation project? So the way the implementation project designed here is like you need to perform certain setup activities based on the modules that you need to implement. So for example, if we need to implement only financials, then we need to definitely do some common setup and some module specific setup, right? So in order to do that, all the setups will come under one area in a particular sequence, which really helps for any implementer to know like what are the setups you need to do, what is the sequence you need to follow. So this is what we found under implementation project. And implementation project, as if you see why it is called project is something like where every task can be monitored. So all the setups are defined as setups task, and you can assign one person to perform the particular task. Say some of you said you are one of the IT managers, so being a manager, you are like owner of the project, you need to distribute the setup task across the team, so you can assign different persons on the setup task, and you can monitor the progress. Okay, so let me go and create an implementation project as part of the exercise, and this is one of the assignment you need to do as well. So if I click, I've created plus, just probably I did it quickly. Stop me, if you are not clear or I'm going first, let me know, so that it will be useful for all of us. So if I create plus, this is the screen comes to me, and the user I've logged in is Fin user. Okay. So if I, based on my first name and first two characters of my last name, I put the name as like this. This is something, a convention we can just follow. So Fin IMPL project is the name of the project, and I used my first name, like first letter of my first name and last letter. And similarly, when you create your project, you can follow the same convention. Okay, I can put a back date also as a start date. I can put say 1st April. Now don't save project here and open it, because now we need to say what modules we need to configure. So press next here. So if you press next here, based on the subscription, whatever we have, we can see the different modules. So as we are interested to implement financials, we'll select financials and we'll say include, and if you see here, there are some more options here, as if whether supplier invoice processing need to be included, something, which expenses you may or may not implement for a business, so you can select it. So likewise, customer invoice processing, whether we would like to select it or not. Okay, collections, we'd like to select it. So those options will come. Intercompany, okay, budgeting and encumbrance. So these are and this is the intelligence, the BI part of it. We'll come to reporting when we'll talk about, but BI is like integral part of, like every module has got so many analytics, dashboards, reports as part of standard offering. Okay, so these are the things that, these are the, I'll select fixed asset as well, as you have selected all those things. And based on that, we'll do a save and open project. Okay, it's processing. Now, if I expand it, I can see all those things like common application setup, common financial configurations, invoice and payments. These are the payables, expenses, setup. So under each, if I click the common one, it gives me like, ledger, business unit, enterprise structure, setup. So this is how each setup task set, these are called task set, and under which you can see different setup task. If you drill down to the lowest level, we can see setup task. So manage primary ledger is a setup task. Okay, but all the sorry, all the top level are like task set. It is called task set. So this is how the setups are structured in Fusion application. Does it make sense to you, or any question, guys?
No question right now.
Okay. So this is one of the assignment you need to do.
I just have,
Yeah, go on.
this is Kumar. I just have one question.
Yeah.
Say, when you are trying to create a project, is it, do you need, typically, let us say I'm going to start a new project. By that time, I would also already know what applications I will have access to, or, typical, let us say we are going to implement a new project for a company.
Yes.
At that time, I need to have identify all the components that I need even before, right? Before I get access to this.
Yeah, because see, this is not like our project module or something. This project is a logical project, which we need to create to manage our configurations or setups. Okay. Now, obviously, when you go to an implementation project, client, based on the requirement, if client has already subscribed, obviously there will be some pre-sales activities, which has happened, and evaluation happened, and based on the requirement, the client has decided to implement certain modules like financials, or in financials, what are the modules in financials they are interested in, and based on the price of the subscription, it's called SaaS subscription, software as a service subscription. So that SaaS subscription will be evaluated, and the agreement will be done between the customer and Oracle, so that the license fees can be paid. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, sure. And this activity is typically done by the administrator, right?
Yeah.
Creating the project.
Yeah, based on the generally for a large project there is a track owner, or project manager, functional setup owner, who is like the lead functional person, So lead functional person should be the person who should dedicate or who should delegate the different setup task based on the expertise. Say Kumar is on say procurement, so procurement task will be given to Kumar. Similarly, say Arideep is ACM, so all the ACM activities should be assigned to Arideep. Setup activities should be assigned to already. Likewise, the task can be, so if you, as I was mentioning, I can go here and say assign task. Sorry. And say I being the, say functional lead, I can search, I'm not sure, let me search with CM. Let's see if there is any user with, yes. So say I can assign this particular task to ACM user. So it is not going to stop anybody to what I mean, I can set up a due date also, like when it is due and all those kind of things.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got
Okay,
it.
but this is not going to stop say Kumar to go to the task and execute it. It's not like that. But from a project tracking perspective, we can assign it.
Plan. Yeah.
Exactly, and it gives you a plan as well. And if I go to edit status, say ACM user has completed the task, and he can set up, he can mention that, okay, I've done it, completed from my end, so I'll say completed. So the status has changed. Okay, and
Sure.
if I say done here, if I go, I think there was some dashboard as well. I'm trying to see. Yeah, view reports. So those kind of things are given here. So setup task list, whatever the setup task list for the project, it will come on a PDF file. You can track it, where we are.
Status tracking. Nice.
Okay. So those kind of things has been provided here. Okay.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Fine. So any questions from Ashutosh or Surya on this?
No, I'm good.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Basically, it's whatever we have done under the setup task. It has been grouped into FSM or functional setup manager, and further it is grouped in a project just to keep a track, where we are in terms of the setup. So basically that's it. And we generally, as a best practice, Oracle recommends to create your own project and do the setup. We can have multiple setup for ACM and financials as well as for supply chain. We can have separate project just to track whatever we are doing. We are not going to touch the project that has been created by the finance. So based on different functional track, the setups, the project can be created and can be managed. Okay. Okay, fine.
So Saket, the question, Surya here.
Yeah.
So when you start a project for a one set of books ledger, right? And parallelly, if two people started setting up two projects, but it should not conflict with each other, right? Should be different set of books, or
yeah, definitely.
both should be different ledger, right?
Should be different, but question is, system doesn't stop you. Say you are what is your name?
Yeah.
Surya, right? Surya.
Yeah.
So say you have created a ledger, say US bank ledger or something. You have created a ledger, and I have been working on the insurance side, so I can go to your ledger and do changes. It system doesn't stop you. So I have got my own project, but I can see the particular ledger thing. So this is not that much, that much data security has not been put, because this is primarily dealt by the functional people like us. Okay. Because this is not like the business user who doesn't have much knowledge about ERP and all. They are not doing the setup stuff. They might do as a part of BAU process, but that is limited and based on SOP provided to them, right?
Okay. So when you started creating project, does this checks for this ledger already another project exist or some kind of warning, or does it allow to continue creating a project setup for the
So
US ledger, for example?
yeah. So
Is simultaneously two US ledgers possible?
no. For example, if I go to primary ledger, you will see what that will clear the confusion. So this is a setup task, right? Manage primary ledger. If you see here, even if you are creating ledger for US or UK, whatever it is, whenever you go to the create a setup, create a ledger, and if you create the plus button, it will open a screen to create a new ledger. You can see all the existing ledgers, and the moment you put a name like Horizon Europe, it will say no, the ledger name already exists. You put some other name.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does it make sense?
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so just on the new feature of this dashboard kind of thing. So each screen has got dashboard as of now. So if you see the project that I have selected, I have just marked one of the project as completed, and this is how a dashboard looks like, based on the but obviously we need to put the due date. So as we have not put the due date, it is showing everything under one bar. Okay, so assignment status by task. So if you see here, different sorry, different task has got like like the number of assignment happened to different tasks and all. So this is how it looks like. So this will be useful if we enter all those details, like the different user assigned to different task, and we put a due date for each task and track it. Then it makes sense to have proper data here, and these dashboards will be really meaningful. Otherwise, as we have not we have just created a bare project, having all the setup tasks, but we have not input much of the details, like who is going to do what and by which date it has to be completed. As those details are not here, it doesn't make sense. Yeah. So, but yeah, Oracle has provided you all those, fancy dashboards and all to see where we are in terms of setup task. So for a big project, the setup is quite crucial. If we have a target of say 6 weeks or 8 weeks to complete all the setups. So this is how we can track it, track all the project, like all the setup task for the project and the completion, and the project manager can chase it, or the function lead can chase to or track all the project task will be completed, or track to close all the task. Okay, so this is what implementation project is, and this is the overview of functional setup manager. Okay, so if you are happy, we'll move to let me know. I think we can take a break in another 20 minutes if you're okay. Fine. We'll carry on with the
So,
presentation. Yeah, sorry, go on.
yeah, that's fine. So you're saying we'll take a break in 20 minutes and we'll come back in 20 minutes.
We'll take a break after 20 minutes. Is that fine?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
After
fine.
20
I'm
minutes,
just
we'll
trying to
take.
confirm that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine. Let's carry on, and this is ERPs. There are so many things in ERP and in Fusion. There are lot many things has been input with a different architecture and all. So the faster we move, that will be good. But at the same time, we should make things clear before we move on. Otherwise, uh, it will be of no use. Fine. So we have just looked at the sorry. You have just looked at the the Fusion screen, like login screen, and navigate to one screen to another and all. Just give you you had a glimpse of Fusion screen. So first of all, if you see the architecture or the technical architecture, the Java applet and all those things has gone. So now it is not like that. You click one menu link from the login page and it will open an applet, then open a screen, and those things have gone. So it's everything like click it, it will be like a proper web application, standard web application. So that thing I think you have noticed. Fine. So we have done the demo. This is the assignment you need to do. Like I have created a project with SDH Fin implementation project based on your first name and first two letter of your surname. You can create your own implementation project. Fine. So now let's move to the next slide. It's called enterprise structure, and I think this is what is the base of the Fusion or any other ERP. Like EVs, we have org structure. We have to define the org structure before we do anything in the application. So if you see a typical org structure has been drawn here. So the top node is called enterprise, and it is not called organization structure. It is called enterprise structure. So the top node is called enterprise, under which the legal entities are defined. If you see, the business units are nothing like, after that you can see ledgers, different ledgers, ledger USA, ledger UK, ledger France, yeah, and there will be business units. So just to give you a mapping of EVs, enterprise you can think of as a business group at the top node. Legal entities are same as legal entity in EVs. Ledger, again it's same. Business unit is nothing but the operating unit, but with some added functionality with business unit. Okay, and then comes the inventory org, and later on you can have there you can further drill down and you can have sub inventories and other things. Those are not designed here or depicted here. So this is typical enterprise structure. So the first change that has happened compared to the enterprise, if you see enterprise which is mapped to business group, if you remember in EBs, the employee information is designed or defined at business group level, right? But here it is defined at legal entity level, or it's controlled or managed at legal entity level. So that is the first difference. Okay.
Saket, could you please repeat again?
Yeah.
I think voice something.
Okay. So what I say, like what I said, like the difference with enterprise compared to
Business
group in EVs is like business group. When we define business group, we need to provide the employee structure information. It is controlled at a business group level, right?
Yeah.
But here it is not defined at legal entity level in Fusion, not at enterprise level. So enterprise is nothing but an umbrella which doesn't hold much information, but it is like the top node which holds everything below it. Make sense? So enterprise has got no such significance other than being the top node in the hierarchy.
So that's the change between R12 and this one, because in
Exactly.
R12 we have one legal entity and one ledger and two legal entity under one ledger. Now they moved legal entity above ledger.
Exactly. And if you see the structure, the ledger is basically connecting the business unit and the legal entity. So now it is driven, the relationship is driven through ledger.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
So this is the typical enterprise structure. Now, as I mentioned, there are now operating unit is called business unit in Fusion. So what is business unit, or what are the additional functionalities that has been added compared to operating unit? So first thing is, business unit has got like um uh, relationship or shared service functionality attached with business unit. What is shared service functionality? Think of like you have got a say your head office is the one who will make all the payments. Okay. Now invoices are raised across globe in different business units, but the payment has to happen through one central business unit. Okay. So here, if you see, like, in the structure it has been mentioned here, like shared service center. So we can have a business unit called shared service center, by which we'll make all the payments. And when you define the business unit, each business unit will mention, it will give you an option for defining the relationship that the payment will be done by. Everywhere we can mention like who will make, which particular business unit will be responsible for making the payments. We can mention shared service center for all the business units mentioned here. So that means the shared service center will be will have the authority to access all the invoices and make the payments. There will be other issues as I'm talking about some global structure. There will be other issues like there could be across balancing segment. Obviously, there could be sorry, entities which are assigned to each of the legal entities, which will be different, and there is a possibility of cross balancing segment entries which can be dealt with intercompany rules, but still the payment can be managed through one business unit using the functionality. So this is a change compared to operating unit. Yeah, the similarities, yes, business unit has got same functionality of operating unit to maintain the data security. So if you are in USA 1 business unit, you should not be able to see the transaction for USA 2 business unit, and likewise. Any questions?
And that shared services center is defined under a particular business unit, or it is again a common, of course, can be shared, can be used by other business unit, that understood. But is it defined under a particular business group, business unit?
No, it is independent business unit. Like USA business 1 unit, shared service center is also one business unit.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And obviously you can have, for US you can have a shared service business unit, for UK you can have another shared service business unit. Depending on the business structure, you have the option to define a shared service center business unit. Yeah, if you want to avoid those cross balancing segment entries and all, you can do that. Okay, fine.
But it will be within one ledger, right? It cannot be across the ledgers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because across ledger, first of all, the moment the ledger will change, first change that will happen, or the first bottleneck is there could be a different chart of account structure, and it will be difficult to have your when you raise your invoice, the accounting happens in one of the business unit is going to be your accounts, your expense debit to account, like accrual account credit. Okay, payables accrual, maybe expense accrual credit. Now that follows a account structure from ledger USA. Yeah, and the payments can happen on a different account structure. So that way the accounting is going to be difficult. So it has to be, the shared service has to be within one ledger.
We have this currently, this issue. We have shared services, and we have this issue in R12.
Yes. So that's what is the issue? Like, is it
Issue
because
is business is saying we want to pay from shared services, but currently in Oracle, you can only pay for each operating unit.
right?
So we are paying same supplier multiple times.
No. Okay, okay. Or maybe you have defined a supplier site for each of the business operating
You
units.
have to define supplier side for each OU.
Yeah. So which is
So if we
redundant
had a
in nature.
shared service concept, that's what we have actually. Physically in our company, we have shared services.
Exactly.
We can say, okay, this is the shared service which will pay for all these business units.
Right. Because I think
That's
this
what we want.
exactly, because Oracle has Oracle knew about all those feedbacks they have received from different businesses over the years, and that's why they have brought into all those, or they keep on adding those best practices into Fusion application. And every quarter there are releases from Fusion, and they are adding more functionalities into the application. Okay, good to know that, Ashutosh, that yeah, this is a real challenge. Even I faced this challenge in different implementation as well. Okay, fine. So moving to the next topic. We is Ajay still there? Hello, Ajay. We're not.
Yes,
Yeah, Ajay, we're not hearing you. So is it everything okay? Like, you are able to follow?
yes.
Okay, so let us know, like, if you face any questions, or if you have any experience, please share, because that is a value addition for all of us. Okay.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, now moving to the next, before we move to the next slide, just want to talk about the costing organization structure, which is again a new concept in Fusion. Like, in EVs we do have the costing organization concept, where it will be one cost organization sorry, which will be linked with multiple inventory organization, and the costing will data will be accumulated in one costing org, and from there the cost of the item will be derived. Okay, now same as EVs, we can set up two different costing method, like average costing or standard costing, right? But if you remember, in EVs, we need to either we can set up a costing method as average costing or standard costing. But in Fusion, you can set up two different costing methods, and only thing is it will not link to the same ledger, because obviously if you are following average costing, all the accounting based on the average costing will go to your primary ledger, and you should have a secondary ledger or some other ledger where the ideally it is a secondary ledger linked to your primary ledger, where the say standard costing accounting, like accounting based on standard costing, for example the PPV, purchase price variance, and those kind of accounting which does not exist in average costing, those kind of accounting will go to the secondary ledger. So the ledger has to be different, otherwise you can have your analysis, like you can take the advantage of both average costing and standard costing by defining two like your secondary ledger, or one extra secondary ledger which will maintain the other type of costing. Okay, so this is another change that is available in Fusion, and this is again a very good feature. So all the analysis that you miss as you enable average costing, like the purchase price variance kind of things, those things can be leveraged if you use standard costing on a different on a secondary ledger, map to secondary ledger. Is it clear? Okay, guys, let's take a quick break for maybe 10-15 minutes. 15 minutes should be fine, right?
Yeah, 15 is fine. So we'll.
Yeah. So what is the time now? Yeah. So it's around your time is 8 o'clock, right? 8 a.m. 8:15, right? Your time?
It's 8:17.
Sorry, 8:17.
Yeah,
8:17. So we'll just come back after 15 minutes from now. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So any questions on the enterprise structure in Fusion? If you have no more question on this, let's move to the next slide.
So I'm assuming that, sorry, going back to costing organization. So
Yep.
I'm assuming that it's still same chart of account structure, like cost center, balance and segment and everything. But the primary ledger has a feature, an extra feature. Either you can go for standard or average costing, correct?
I think, when we define a cost organization, yeah, we can define the costing method. Okay, and we can now in Fusion we have an option to assign a ledger to the costing organization. Fine. So in that setup, we can specify whether it is average costing setup and which ledger it is tied to, as well as what is the costing method, whether it is going to be so these two things like average costing and that particular ledger name we can specify in the costing organization setup, not in ledger. Are you saying that we have option in ledger where we can specify this?
Yeah, I thought like one of the extra segment or something you can attach to that.
No.
No?
No,
Okay.
no. The chart of account structure has nothing to do with this, because it has got like costing is one of the I would say one of the sub ledger, but the chart of account is global. It is common to all the sub ledgers, right?
Okay.
It's not fair to have if you just think of the option to add a segment in the chart of account, then it's not fair to have or to carry one chart of account to all the subledgers, though it is not being used, So that option, that is not the option. So I think, so the setup that is done is like when you define the costing organization, you can assign the costing method and assign the ledger. Okay?
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. And rest of the like cost books, cost element, those things are pretty much same compared to what we have in R12. Okay. Fine. So moving to the next slide. Sorry. So another representation of like I would say one illustration of enterprise structure is, say there is a corporation, Fusion Corporation is the enterprise name, and they have got two line of business. One is insurance and banking, then they can have the legal entities and business units, for insurance and banking separately. And also want to highlight here that division is another level, which is only for reporting, not for capturing any transaction as such, but we can add a new layer called division as well, which was not there in this structure. So just want to highlight that yes, we can have another layer called division sorry, based on the line of business, like insurance. For insurance there will be one division, for banking there will be another division, and we can do reporting based on the division. Okay, but that is an optional setup. We may or may not go for it. We can keep the division. We may not define the division. So this is what I just want to highlight here. Sorry. Coming to the data access or data security. If you see here, there are three axes. One is legal axis based on the legal entities across the globe. One is functional axis based on the like different team or different department in the business. And another one is the business axis based on the businesses or divisions, based on the business units and divisions. Now, one particular user or the security has been designed in a way that one particular user can have access to one slice which will be pertain to one legal axis, one functional axis, and one business axis. So if I take an example, say business unit 1, and legal entity USA for insurance USA, and the functional team is basically say finance, okay, finance team. So this particular slice can be assigned to one user at that level. So a particular user will have access data to only that particular slice pertaining to one business unit, one legal entity, and one department. Okay, so these are these are these can be defined in different ways. We'll come to the details, like how this particular data security can be enforced. Okay, so we'll come to that in the subsequent slides. So any question on this, on the access or the data security?
Hey, Saikat, Aradipya, this is again a little bit of feedback, background wind noise. Can you just check?
Is it better now?
Yes.
Is it better? Yeah. It is the window that was causing problem. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So coming to the axis structure, any question, guys, on this?
No.
Okay, but yeah, I think in your mind, the responsibilities and profiles in EVs are hovering. So we'll come to the subsequent slides, and we'll discuss those, and we'll map how things can be linked, or can be how it is mapped with Fusion compared to EBs. Now I think we have touched upon that. If you remember the enterprise structure that we have shown, the relationship between the business unit and legal entity is now through the ledger. So one ledger can have access to multiple business units, or rather multiple business units data will follow one ledger, and one ledger and multiple legal entities can be linked to one ledger. So, but the relationship, between business unit and legal entity is done through primary ledger. Now, if I take an example, like when you are into business unit 1, you can enter data for legal entity 1, legal entity 2, and legal entity 3 based on the access you have. That means, say you have got a entity, say 100 and balancing segment 101, 102, and 103 for entity legal entity 1, 2, and 3. So when you go to the business unit, you can, business unit 1, you can enter transactions for all the legal entities based on the setup you do in the system. Okay. Any questions on the mapping?
No questions right now.
Okay, fine. We'll move to the next slide. Coming to the legal entity. Now, this is pretty much same, what we have seen in R12. So legal entity is basically, representing a, a particular address in a particular country, and it will have a it is based on, and company has a legal registration number, and all the legal reporting is done based on the legal entity defined in the system. So if you have say if you have a company in US and UK, you might have two legal entities, and you must have two legal registration number, one for UK, one for US, with a different address in different country, and all the legal reporting is done through the like based on the registration number and the address for the different country. So we can define two different legal entity, or we can set up two different legal entity in in the Fusion application, and which is not much different compared to what we have seen in EVs. Okay. Moving to the next slide. This is pretty much important, that legal HCM information is something where we need to which is pretty much required in order to define an employee for the Fusion application. Now, can I ask you one question here? Say you would like to implement only financials. Do you need to define employee in the system?
Yeah, HR business group setup, right? Enterprise and legal entity are very much important, because first setup in an organization or enterprise is setting up in a human resources, a person, and then he will log into the system and do the financial setup. So it is must.
No, think of a BAU scenario where the only financial, say you have got GL, AP, AR, only 3 modules, where the invoices will be raised, and where invoices will be raised, accounted, and the financial statements will be generated, balance sheets, P&L, cash flow, those type of statements will be generated from the system, and that is the only use of the Fusion application. So in that scenario, do you think we need to define the employee in the system in Fusion application?
Yes, because sometime invoice can be for internal like employee, right? Like expense related.
Yeah. That's one use. Yeah, good one. Anything else?
And buyer.
Any other use?
Sometimes
so we are not doing procurement, for the example that we have cited here. So we are not doing procurement. So do we really need to define an employee for, as we are not defining buyer, which is called procurement agent in Fusion. So we are not defining procurement agent in Fusion. So do we need employee for that purpose? So for that purpose, it is not required. Any other purpose for which we should define employee?
If invoice approval requires for certain amount or any approvals, that he must be supervisor or some kind of hierarchy needs to be defined, right?
Spot on.
I think that way may be required.
Maybe it must. It's not maybe. Spot on. Your answer is spot on. So yes, as long as First of all, from a financial point of view, yes, we may not require employees until unless we have those expenses to be logged in, like booked in the system, or we can define it as a supplier as a workaround. Still, we can bypass that. Yes, we can bypass that. Like we'll just define supplier with a naming convention, which will, or with a supplier type called internal, and we'll just carry on with that. So still we can manage that with a workaround. But if we need to enable approval, we must define those finance users as employees in the system. Now, coming to the users, we have two different type of user category in Fusion. One is implementation user, other is employee user. Okay. Now, what is the difference between implementation user and employee user? Say, for example, if say I'm a consultant, I joined a project to implement financials. Now, should I be defined as an employee? No, but I should have access to all the setups, all the transactions. To being a implementer, I should be able to create transaction, account transactions, and generate reports. Those kind of privilege I require, and obviously do the setup. So there are different roles by which we can we will be enabled to do certain activity in the system. So for me, if I am defined as an implementation user, it suffices. But if I need to enable the approval hierarchy, yes, we should define the employee. Now, in order to define employee user, we must set up at least, even if we are not doing any of the ACM activity in the system, still we need to define this legal entity ACM information in the system, where we can define the employer assignment and employer model or something. We'll go to the screen and show what it is. Once we do that, we should be able to define the employee user in the system. So we'll create a user, and the user will be created as an employee based on the details furnished. And so this is one of the bare minimum setup that we need to do, even if we are not implementing ACM. So for financials, yes, we need to define that along with the legal entity. Okay. Any questions on this?
No.
Okay, good. Fine. So let me go to the system and show you. So first of all, implementation user. How to define an implementation user? So if you see here, this is the navigator. So this is the first screen when I logged in, and I can, this is the navigator on the left. So though we have the home screen, just to differentiate, though we have the home screen to go to the home to do the transactions. So these are basically my GL, AP, user, AP, cash management, different access for the different modules. But this is my navigator, which gives everything, all the things that you see under home screen, as well as the setup and maintenance, and many more other things as well, like setup and maintenance, etc. Now, what we are trying, we would like to define the implementation user. So the navigation that we follow is like we'll go to security console, where we can define. One request, like guys, when you can see so many documentation in Metalink or Google. So make sure that the document is based on release 12 and above, because this security console was not there in previous versions. So otherwise, there will be some other navigation which might confuse you. So make sure that it should be release 12 documentation. So here, if you see, I can go to user account, and I can add one user account here. So if I add one user account, it doesn't ask any employee information like what will be the employee structure or what will be the employee department and those kind of things. So this user, what I set up here is going to be a like, so there is an option to by default, like if I say none, so by default it is going to be an implementation user. Now if I associate a worker information, then I can define an employee and assign that worker information here, and by which we can enable it as a employee user. But if I say none, so that means it is a implementation user. And
what happened to supplier base and customer base user?
are you talking about the external user?
Yeah.
iSupplier user you're talking about?
No, like in Oracle 11 and 12, when you are creating user, you can create user, link user profile to 3 people, either employee or supplier or customer. The supplier customer option I saw is missing.
Yes. So first of all, if you are talking about the supplier, iSupplier thing, like where the third party will have access to only to the supplier module, like only to the invoice and the
ASN and all.
purchase order, ASN and all, then yes, that has that access can be created, but not through this screen, through other setups in payables and procurement. Okay.
Okay.
So that is there, but I'm trying to understand, like, what customer user, will you allow your customer to access your system? What is the scenario for the customer based user?
I didn't use, but like iSupplier, there is a module where customer can also log in. There is a self-service portal was there in Oracle. There is a module.
Okay. So it is specific to one particular, like, CRM kind of thing, where
correct.
customer will have access. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I have got limited knowledge in CRM, so I beg your pardon, because maybe that is the purpose where customer user can be created. But
is my understanding? I'm sorry to. I don't know if I'm first time I'm hearing here. I'm learning, of course. So
no,
right now, at this point, you're defining a Oracle account, like F&D user account.
Yes.
And you once you define and give the whether it is a internal employee or supplier or a customer, you assign a appropriate responsibility. So, for example, if this account is for an external customer, you give some portal related responsibility. That's how it defines whether it's for supplier or employee or customer. For employee, you can give expenses, or for supplier, you can give procurement related. That's how we define, correct?
Not procurement, I would say iSupplier, because procurement is different than iSupplier. So yes, you're right. So this is basically the F&D user, and responsibility you're talking about. Yes, we can. If you see here, we can add roles. So one quick change, just want to highlight here, is like there is no concept of responsibility here. Everything is role in Fusion. Okay, so it's more or less similar functionality, not exact. There are difference which we'll come to later. So it will be roles. Once we define user, we can add role to the user, and based on the role access, the user will be able to perform different transaction in the system. Okay. So yes, Surya, you're right. So we can. This is basically the F&D user that we are talking about. But user can be linked with employee. Yes, and user can be linked with supplier. That is also correct, but not through this screen. There are different screens for defining supplier, iSupplier, user. like a third party user who will be restricted to use only your like able to see the supplier specific data. You know the functionality, I guess, because when you allow access of a third party supplier contact to connect to your system, it will be only those purchase orders related to the particular supplier, and the ASN related to the particular supplier, also the invoices related to the particular supplier. Am I correct?
That's what iSupplier is.
Exactly, that's what iSupplier is. So it is not like, it is a very limited access that you allow a third party to access the system, and basically it's only the transaction data related to that supplier. Fine. So that is another type of user. But here we are talking about a type of user called implementation user, which is not linked with any employee. And once we define that, we can add roles, and based on that, the user can do certain transaction in the system. So so fin user is one of the user. If I go to the user account, if you see, these are the roles that are assigned to the user. Okay, so for GL, these are the roles. We'll come to the different type of roles and different access. Now, this is the role just I want to highlight here is application implementation manager or application implementation consultant. Yeah, so this is the one that is responsible to allow the user to have access to the setup and maintenance, or the functional setup, FSM. So if this particular role is assigned to one user, the user should be able to do the setup, or should have access to the setup menu. So if this particular, in other words, if this particular role, these and these two roles are removed from this user, the setup and maintenance access will go away. Am I clear saying that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So this is the role, application implementation consultant, which, or application implementation manager. These two roles are assigned to user to enable to access to setup and maintenance. Okay. But this particular user, if you see, it is not assigned to any person number or any manager, any job. So this is not an employee user. That is what I want to highlight. But if I need to define employee user, I think there is another user. Let me see if I can remember it correctly. PAO. No.
No, you can look for Paula, PAULA.
So thank you, Rijit. Thank you. Yeah, I forgot. Yes. So if you see here, yes. Even if we just look at this, one particular person number is assigned. His manager name is assigned here. So that means this is a employee user. Okay. So what is the difference? As we discussed, like, this user will participate in approving, any journals or invoices if the approval is enabled. And also, like, if fusion expense is enabled, then this user will have access to enter the expense report, to book his travel and expenditure details into the system, and get reimbursement through payables module. So this particular so this is the employee user. We can create employee user straight away from another access through FSM, which is called manage users. So one other option to go to a particular setup task is to just search it from here. This is another feature. One option is like we can go to the implementation project and search a particular setup task. Another option is we can just put the setup task, based on like, whatever portion of the string I remember. If I just search it like this, it gives me, a long list because I put a while character percentage as well, but it gives me this as well. So if I go to this particular screen, this screen will allow me to access, allow me to define a employee. Sorry, Oridip, are you there? PAU, right?
UL,
Yeah.
yeah.
All PAU.
Okay, let me go to here. I can name, yes, PAULA. Right. So this is the screen where you can define. So if I just click plus here, this will take me to the screen where I can define the user information, like employee information, like first name, last name, and username is the name of the user, and then type of the person, whether the user is an employee or contingent or a student employee, or those kind of things. And so the resource manager and etc. So just want to show you, like if I select employee, it asks for a legal employer. Now if you see here, this list is coming, like all the name of the legal employer or the legal entity is coming if the legal HCM information is defined in the system. So this is the point I want to highlight, that if we define the manage HCM, so if I go to the slide just to, so if we define this, manage legal entity HCM information, then only the legal entity will be used to define employees. And if we remember the enterprise structure that we talked about, that the employee can be defined at legal entity level, not at business group level, right? So the legal entity will be enabled to define an employee, and obviously with this particular screen we can define the employee and define the user, and the link happens automatically as everything comes into one screen. Am I clear? Kumar, Ajay?
Yes.
Okay. I'll quickly show you the that manage ACM information screen. Manage legal, or let's try the implementation project approach. Like we can go to a particular setup task, either straightway searching here, or we have created this particular project. Let's try this. So if I navigate to enterprise structure for financials, which is our common setup we are talking about today, define legal entities for financials here, and here you go, define like manage legal entity information, HCM information. So this is another new thing which you are not which you have not seen earlier. So if I click this select, which is called scope, so it asks me to select a legal entity. Why so? Think of, we have got 100 legal entities defined in the system. Now if I need to see the information of a particular legal entity, we need to choose that legal entity through the screen, and once we select that, then we can navigate to the screen and we can see the employee or the legal entity information for that particular legal entity selected here. So if I do a select, or we can go to the create new option also if we want to create a new legal entity. So if I select it from here, if I go here and say, if I select this, sorry, I've got a bad throat today. If I select it, right. So we just need to create a setup through this, and this is the legal employer information. We just need to create a record for that particular legal entity using the screen. Once we do that, that particular legal entity will be like enabled to be used to define employees. Fine. I think as part of the assignment, you can define one legal entity as part of the assignment, and you can try defining a user. And if you are not able to do that, that means you your legal entity is not enabled. You don't define the ECM information and try defining an employee. If you try to do that, it will not come up in the list. And once you go to this screen and add ECM information, your legal entity will be enabled to define employees. Okay. Did I confuse you, or it's clear? Any questions, guys?
For assignments, first time you will give us in the end the access to the instance.
Instance access, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. I think after the session, Aditip will share the instance access to all of you.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. But I think if you try doing those things, things will be. I know, because you have a like you are so habituated with EBs. It will take it. Same thing happened with me. It took me some time to get a hang of this particular navigation and all. But spend 1 or 2 days, and after 2 days you will tell, okay, I'm fine with the instance. I know what to do, where to do. Okay, should not be an issue. Yep. Okay, fine. So if you are okay with the steps, any question? Kumar, do you have any question?
No, I'm good. Yeah. Thanks.
Surya?
I'm okay, thank you.
Okay, fine. Very good. Let's move to the 4C that we need for ledger. Do you know what are the, Surya, do you know what are the 4C for the ledger? To define a ledger, we need to define the 4 C's.
The calendar, chart of accounts,
Yeah.
and sub-ledger accounting.
Yes. What else? Calendar, chart of account,
Currency,
and convention. Yeah, basically that is the convention, whether it is the accrual based accounting or cash based accounting. That's right. You're right.
It's called in Fusion. In R12, it's called sub-ledger accounting, right? And what do you call here?
It's called convention. Even R12 also, it's convention, and we by convention we say whether it is the accrual based accounting or standard accrual or cash based accounting. Okay, so that's why it's called 4C. Earlier it was 3C in 11i. In R12 it is called 4C, and same here, it's 4C. So fine, so we can quickly go through the concept of calendar. Now calendar, it's very one of the most important aspect for any business, because a business needs to report their financial statements either annually, quarterly, monthly, to different stakeholders in the business or in the outside world. Now, so based on the calendar, the transactions are grouped and the reports are generated, right? So calendar has got key the key concept or the key points for defining a calendar is we can have a budget control only checkbox, which we can define a calendar which will be used only for budgetary control. Okay. We can have start date is one of the key point for defining your calendar. So you have gone to a customer for a finance implementation. Now the start date could be crucial when you define the initial calendar, because you need to bring their history data as well. But the start month, when you start migrating their data, you need to make sure that the first month data that you bring in, you cannot run translation on that. So you need to define the start date prior to that month. So say you are bringing data from say January 2017, then you need to define prior year as well, like January 2016 should be enabled, like you need to, your first date should be 1st Jan 2016, so that when you run translation for the first set of data in the first period you bring in the data, in order to enable translation to be run, translation process to be run, you should have the start date accordingly set up in the system. Okay. Period frequency, like it can be monthly, quarterly, yearly, but we all know, like in almost every implementation, it is monthly. Adjusting period frequency, which is quite critical, and even in my current implementation project, this is very crucial, because I'll give you a scenario which will explain why it is crucial, because they have got 3 adjustment periods. Now Oracle has given a different option, like where the adjustment period will be placed in a calendar, right? So if I go to the next screen quickly, so if you see here, this is a calendar, typical calendar, say from January 17 to December 17, and there is one adjustment period at the end. And if you see here, the system gives option like one at the beginning of year, one at the end of year. So you can have 2 adjustment period, one at the beginning. So prior to January there will be 1 adjustment period if we have selected this option, and one at the end, like this one. So this particular one, this particular calendar has been created with the option once at year end. That's why it has created the last period, adjustment period. Now in our project there are 3 adjustment period required. Now if you see here, there is one option called one mid-year and twice at year end. Now this is the particular option that we have selected. So middle of the year was the one, like one created in the middle, and one at the beginning, and one at the end. So
Okay,
and
a quick thing, could you please enlarge the screen?
Oh, really?
Zoom in, like, by very tiny letters. I couldn't.
Yeah. Sorry for that.
Yeah, no worries, because I don't. Sorry, my vision also not that good. So
No issues. No issues. Actually, I tried to put everything into one screen, and that caused the problem. Is it any better?
yes.
Okay. So if you see here, this is the frequency adjustment period frequency option. So in our project, we have selected one mid-year and twice at year end. Why the middle one was required in our project? Because the mid-year gives an option to do their mid-year adjustments. Like they have a half-yearly reporting, and in the mid-year they do certain adjustments for some of the accruals entries, and they just reverse it. And those accrual entries are kind of auto reversible in nature. And once they say, so that particular adjustment period was created between May and June, so there was an adjustment period. And once the next period is created open, like June is open, once June is open, those whatever the journals that are created in the month of mid-year adjustment period are automatically reversed within the period of June. So that's the use of this adjustment period. So depending on the business requirement, you can choose one of the option. Okay. Other things are like user defined prefix format. It gives you different option to prefix it. Like some company wants the period of the, like generally we follow like Jan 17, Feb 17 as the accounting period, but some company wants it as P0, P1, P or P0, P1, P2, P3 hyphen year. Okay, some company wants the prefix like that, so we can set up those kind of accounting period through the period name format. Okay, so it's not that like this is a way to do it, I think. So this is the point I was talking about. So period name is here, so you can use the user defined prefix. The separator is there. Format we can choose, as we discussed, different format. Fine. So this is typically the calendar. Any question on calendar setup?
One question: why do we have to put full year for the start date?
Full year for the start date.
Yeah. So it says that enter the start date that is full year before the start date of the year. Like if you look at that.
Yeah. Enter a start date that is a full year before the start date of the year of the first translation, because that is the point I mentioned here. Like say think of like your implementation project. When you implemented, what was the last period data or last year data you migrated? Like depending on the business requirement, maybe last year's old data are migrated, right?
Right.
Say you have implemented it, say back in 2011, the implementation was happened. Now 2011, but you need to migrate last 1 year data. So from Jan 2010, if your business follows calendar year, so from Jan 2010, you need to migrate the old data, conversion data, or you need to convert all the old data from Jan 2010. So if Jan 2010 is your first period, then you should define the calendar from Jan 2009.
Okay.
Why?
So we can bring in the journals for the whole year.
For the Jan 2010, 1 year, like one extra year should be there, because first of all you need to bring the opening position of Jan 2010, right?
Right.
So in order to bring Jan 2010 opening position, you need to load the data for closing position of December 2009. Correct. So you need to anyway you need to enable 2009, and what it is saying, like if your first set of data is loaded in December 2009, then the translation process has a restriction that it cannot run on the first period of the calendar. So first period but if it is loaded in December 2009 and your first period is Jan 2009, then you can run the translation process. System won't stop you to run the translation process.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Okay. So this is a restriction. And Suryal, do you know what is translation process if I think you know, but if you want, I can just give you a quick overview. What is translation process?
Sure, sure. Please
Yeah.
give me.
Yeah. So translation process is basically, say think of this ERP Web Tutor. They have got a UK branch and they have got a US branch, right? Now, whatever transactions, whatever entries are being made, whatever transactions are being done in the system, it is done for UK it is done in GBP, in pound, but for US it is done in USD. And say they have another branch in India as well, and the transactions are made in INR. But the corporate office is in US. Now, if we need to generate a consolidated statement, financial statement, all the transaction figure has to be translated into one currency, which is the corporate ledger currency is USD, right? So in order to convert all the transaction data based on the conversion rate, we need to run a translation process which translates the data in different ledger like India ledger, UK ledger into and convert all into a consolidation ledger, which is nothing but the corporate ledger having the currency in USD. So this conversion process is called translation. Am I clear?
It's little tricky to me, but that's fine.
No,
Most of the time accounting.
Yeah,
So
I can
Sakshi,
accept your question. If you have a question, I can you can raise it to me. I'll be happy to explain that.
My thought was start date is the date when you want your translation to be started. So if you are loading 1 year historical data, so start date is 1 year historical date. So it will do the translation from past 1 year.
Yeah. So if you see here, it's saying first translation period to the period of your ledger's calendar. So system doesn't know, like system will see the period you are entering the data. If your business is only on one currency, then this particular assumption is null and void. So if you don't need, if you have only one company in US that doesn't need any translation to run, then the first period issue will not happen. So this is a system restriction where translation cannot be run on the first period of the calendar. Okay?
Because it reverse the accrual of previous one, calculate the new one.
Yeah.
So what will reverse if you do the first period?
Exactly, because it will not find anything based on the like first period data, right? It will not have any history. You're right. So so that's what it is saying. System should have a, even if it is a empty first period where no transaction exists, still you need to have a period prior to the first period where you load the data. Okay. Is it does it answer your question?
Now I think now it linked to my knowledge, so I'm good.
Okay, very good. Surya, is it clear?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, but don't hesitate to raise any question, because it will be, the more interactive it will be, it will be useful. Like if you have any question, any doubt in mind, you can raise it. If it is something we need to discuss offline, we can do that, but raise it so that we'll know, like there is some gap and we'll try our best to cover it. Yeah. Okay.
I think Ajay mentioned a good point here in the chatting, which is, of course, same almost what you covered.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you, Ajay, for sharing.
Yep. Is it Ajay or Ashutosh?
Ajay.
It is
Ajay.
Ajay, right? Okay, Ajay, okay. That's fine. Fine. So calendar has been discussed. Now let's move to the next slide. Chart of accounts. What is your thought about chart of account, guys? Like based on the EVS experience you have. First of all, what is chart of account? Like in double entry system, what do we mean by chart of account? What is the significance of chart of account in EBS R12?
So basically it tells that particular transaction in which currency and which period it's occurred.
No, that's ledger. So
Yeah.
if you book a transaction, that signifies your currency, calendar, and chart of account. So that basically tells like what particular period it is tied to, what is the currency for the transaction, and what is the chart of account
The
structure.
chart of accounts basically, that's what
That's it.
any financial transaction occurs. Besides that currency and calendar, it also tells them. The chart of accounts basically helps to identify where the cost should go, or where this transaction belongs to, all the financial information, segment information, or
Yeah.
where the balancing should happen.
Yep. Good one. Any other view from Ajay?
My understanding is, it's a structure. So where we define how our accounting string can be decoded as it made
Yep.
up of, like it has all the information in there.
Yep. Okay. Ajay, your view?
Hello. I think
Yeah.
it's a list of accounts actually. You can say it's a trial balance.
Yep. Okay. So I think you have covered pretty much of like what chart of account signifies. Just let me add some more point on top of it. Is yes, it basically it is a string of it is called an account string, where we define multiple segments, and if that particular account string is tied with any particular transaction, that signifies which particular entity it belongs to, which particular cost center it belongs to, which particular type of account and the account code it belongs to. When I say type of account, basically for finance, if we look at the finance modules, what is the use of implementing finance for a business? Just we, in broad level, we are basically reporting on the assets, liabilities, revenue, expenses, and the owner's equity. If large, broadly, if we look at the business purpose, basically we need to report on these type of accounts that happens within a period, like in a year or a month or a quarter, like where we are, right? So yes, I think you have added all those views. So just I added my view on top of this. Now let's do a quick comparison between what we have in the chart of account structure, because you guys are conversant with the EV's chart of account structure. Let me quickly draw a comparison between that. So first comparison that is there is like in Fusion you can define three balancing segment level. Three balancing three segment can be identified as balancing segment. One will be primary balancing segment. We can identify another segment as secondary balancing segment, and third balancing segment. So that gives, this is a new feature. in EBs we have primary balancing segment and secondary tracking unit. These are the two options we had, right? So this is one change that has happened. Other change has sorry has happened is like the chart of account structure instance. So if you see the diagram that I put, chart of account structure is completely a new concept in Fusion. Earlier it was only chart of accounts, where we just define the segment structure and we define our accounting key flex field, and that's it. We assign it to a ledger and we can start booking transactions. But here we have got another level between the chart of account structure. Like from chart of account structure, there will be another level called chart of account structure instance, which is basically assigned to the ledger. Now, what is chart of account structure instance and what is the significance of it? Okay, so chart of account structure instance is nothing but a copy of the chart of account structure itself. So if you have got 5 segments, that 5 segments will come into chart of account structure instance. Now, what are the additional things that you get in chart of account instance are like it will allow you to select whether the dynamic accounting can be enabled. Dynamic accounting combination can be generated. Sorry, not dynamic accounting. It is dynamic accounting combination. Whether it can be generated or not, that checkbox option will be there. So you can enable it. If you enable it, you can have the chart of account structure instance enabled to generate dynamic accounting combination enabled, and you can assign it to the ledger. So any combination you define on when you enter the transaction, any new combination that can be generated as a new accounting combination. Another option is like the structure has got, like, as you know, the EB structure, yes, each segment is tied with a value set where the segment values, if it is cost center, we need to put the cost center values. If it is accounts, natural accounts, we put the natural accounts values. If it is project segment, we put the project segment. If it is a company, then we put all the company segment values like that. But this chart of account structure does allow to change the value set to a different one. So you can have a new value set assigned to the assigned at the chart of account structure level. Now I've mentioned 2 change. One is dynamic account combination enabled and new value set can be added. Now what is the significance? Why should we do that? Think of a multinational company having same chart of account structure across the globe. Say banking and insurance. Just think of they have got 2 line of business. One is banking, another one is insurance. Now, say for insurance, you don't want the dynamic combination to be enabled for the insurance ledger, but you want the dynamic accounting combination to be enabled for the banking ledger. Yes, you can do it through the chart of account structure instance, because that particular you can have 2 different instances which will be assigned to your 2 different ledger, but it follows the same structure. If you look at the structure of the chart of accounts, yes, the structure is same, but the structure instance level, you define 2 different instance of the chart of account. One will have the dynamic combination enabled, one will have disabled. Does it make sense, guys?
So you will create 2 instances for the same chart of account.
Yes.
Okay.
And that 2 instance will be assigned to 2 different ledger. One will be the banking ledger, other one will be the insurance ledger. So one will have this dynamic combination allowed. Other will for other ledger you need to generate the accounting combination in advance. Then only that particular accounting combination will be used while booking the transactions. Surya?
So
Is it okay?
once, yeah, little confused. So once I have defined two instances, two chart of accounts instances, and assigned to a particular ledger, that's it. You're done. It froze. You frozen it, right? Kind of, right? You cannot again change that to another instance. Am I right?
Yeah, definitely, because once you book your transaction, this is something, like accounting key flex field is crucial, because when you define it, freeze it, and you start using it, you cannot change it.
Not change the structure, correct?
Change, because all the transaction data are tied to the accounting combination and all. You should not change it. But yeah, go on.
Then what is the difference? Direct. Okay, chart of accounts, once you define, it has to have an instance. Is that a correct statement?
Yes, but it will be one-to-one if you do not change anything. So it will be replica of the chart of account structure that you have defined. Chart of account instance will automatically be generated in the system as a replica of the one. So no change as such.
Okay.
And that particular instance will be assigned to all the ledgers. So you have got 10 ledgers. So you can assign the same chart of account structured instance, which is by default created by the system, and you can just use it, assign it to all of them, all the ledgers. But yeah, but the point that I want to make here is, like, it gives you an flexibility to vary certain things, having the same chart of account structure, and by defining multiple, some variations in the instance level, like creating multiple structure instances and assigning it to different ledger to achieve certain functionalities. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So let me give you an example. Like, so if we if you refer the example that we mentioned, like you have got a banking ledger and got a insurance ledger as well. Now, insurance ledger, you don't want them to generate dynamic account code combination, but for banking you would like to allow them to generate dynamic code combination. Earlier, do you have the option to do it through one chart of account or set of books, or you have to create two chart of account?
Primary, yeah. So basically, that's what I'm coming to. Let me, the old one, once you have a chart of accounts that assigned to a ledger, right? That's it. Of course, you can have a primary set of ledger or secondary ledger. But
no, what I'm saying, like secondary setup ledger is something different, which has got a different significance. Let's talk about the primary ledger only.
Okay, in the primary ledger, once you you can define one chart of accounts, or you can assign only one chart of accounts, right?
Yes.
So
for every ledger.
I'm sorry?
For every ledger, we can define only one chart of account.
Okay, and here is the same?
It is the same. But what I'm saying, like, I can use the same chart of account structure, but with a little variation through the chart of account structure instance, which is, say, think of earlier, there are two layers. One is chart of account and ledger. Chart of account map to ledger. That's it. Now we have chart of account then chart of account structure instance and ledger. So one middle layer is coming in between, which was not there in the previous version.
So maintenance is one time, but we are using in two variation.
Yes, just to achieve the different functionalities like dynamic code combination, having a controlled use of dynamic code combination for some of the ledger, that is one. That is one of the use. Does it make sense, Surya?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Now another change that I mentioned, like the value sets. Now let me give you an example. Say there is a segment called product in the chart of account structure, base structure. Now think of, you have a product coming in both the ledger. Now if you go to the banking ledger, the product might not make sense, but or it might make sense. Just think of, for the sake of the discussion, yes, the banking has got a product. It may not be the right industry to for the example, but just think of like banking has got a product to, when they book the transactions in the banking system, they need a product segment as well. Now obviously banking and insurance are two different line of business, and it should not have same list of products. But if you think of EVs, we'll have only one value set, and you need to define all the set of products in the same value set, which means it will appear into the value set for same value set, and same list of values will pop up, unless you define some security rule to hide it or something, right? Am I correct saying that?
Absolutely. That's a good example. I got it.
That's a good example. You got it. Yeah. Yeah. So now with this structure instance, we don't need anything other than just changing the value set. We'll create the same chart of account structure we'll use the same structure but create different instances, and we'll assign different value set in the two different instances. One will have banking products, other will have insurance products. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So this is the two differences I want to highlight, and if you see rest of the things like sorry, cross validation rules, accounting hierarchies, those things are quite common. Security rules, right? Now I stopped you, Surya, when we talk about secondary ledger. So what is the concept of secondary ledger? Can Ashutosh, what is your view on secondary ledger?
Ledger normally we use if we want to convert the primary ledger data to different calendar or different currency.
So is it somewhat related to the primary ledger? So it has got a mapping with primary ledger?
Yes.
Yes. So Surya, that is what we're saying, like secondary ledger is a different interpretation of the accounting data that is booked in your primary ledger. Say for the best example, we can say IFRS. The business needs a IFRS representation of the accounting that is booked in the primary ledger. Now, how will you do that? How will you achieve it? If you need to achieve the functionality, what you need to do? You need to have a secondary ledger, and your primary ledger, will be represented in a different, through some accounting mapping and all. You can have a different chart of account structure or different mapping, whatever, so you're booking in 5 accounts that will be mapped to one account in the secondary ledger based on IFRS compliance, so that is what secondary ledger is, and it is mapped to the primary ledger. Okay.
Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, fine. So are we clear on the chart of accounts? Any questions?
I'm good.
No question.
Ajay, you okay?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Kumar, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, fine. So coming to the next setup, which is chart of account setup. If you see here, I've list down the mandatory setup steps that are required to define a chart of account. One is like, you create the value sets, same as EBs, then create your chart of account structure, again, same as EBs, and assign those value sets to different segments. Then chart of account structure instance, which is new, which is again linked to the chart of account structure only, but you can create multiple structure instances based on the business requirement. Then you create your value set values, both parent and child, and you can have hierarchy also. Once you do that, your chart of account can be deployed, and once you deploy it, it is ready to be used. So, but if you see the diagram in the below, so up to this, first 4 are like mandatory setup, but next 4 are optional, which are like account hierarchies. You can define your accounting hierarchies, you can publish it. When you say you can publish accounting hierarchies, where basically we are saying we have a new thing in Fusion, which is S-base. So S-base cube or S-base functionality is new in Fusion. So once we define the account hierarchy, once we publish it, it goes to S-base, and whatever changes you do in the hierarchy, you need to republish it again, and it goes to S-base, and from S-base you can you can generate your reports, analytics, and consolidations, those kind of things using the hierarchies. So this is also optional. If you want to use it, you can use it, but it will not stop you to complete your ledger setup and allow to book transactions. Next one is again segment value security. We have detailed slide for all of these. I think segment value security will hide one particular segment value from one particular ledger, based on whatever rule we set, which is optional again. Then cross validation rule, which will allow a particular combination to be rather not to be created. If we set up a cross validation rule, then it will stop you to create that particular combination. Okay, fine. So these are the things. Let's talk about this, and I think we are close to our timeline for today. So let me quickly discuss about this particular slide, and we'll end for today, and we'll resume tomorrow. So if you see the structure here, it is called chart of account setup rapid spreadsheet. Now again, this is something new that has come in Fusion. So far, what we have seen in the previous slide as well, like define chart of account value set, values, structure instances, and then those things are basically all done manually. But with the help of rapid spreadsheet introduced in Fusion, you can generate, you can set up, you can download a rapid spreadsheet where you can define all the segments, you can add many more segments, you can assign different segment level based on the your chart of account structure, and you can generate certain zip files from this. If you see the step 1, step 2, step 3, so step 1 basically validates. So you enter all your values, hierarchies, segment values, hierarchies in a spreadsheet, and you generate a zip file by the option 2, which generate a zip file of the chart of account values, and once you upload it, it create your chart of account in the system. So this is a new feature. So does it make sense to you guys?
Yeah, normally accountants like maintaining these things in Excel file and upload it.
Yes. Now, whatever manual steps we talked about, like think of like running a data loader for the segment values to create the segments and all. We don't need to do anything as such. Just we put the data in a structure and upload it into the Fusion into some front-end screen, and it will complete all your chart of account setup in the system. So quickly I'll show you how how a rapid spreadsheet looks like, or the rapid spreadsheet that we have used here. I think not this one. I think this is the one. Oh, sorry. I think, yeah, this one. So this is a macro-based spreadsheet which you can download from the system. We'll have a like assignment on this, and you can do all those things. So if you see here, this has got all the instruction in the first worksheet. Then in the second worksheet, it will allow you to define your different segments and whatever name you want to put it. So say for example, you have a product segment, so you can add one product segment here.
Can you please show me how to download this? Is it from Fusion you downloaded, or?
Yes, yeah, from Fusion only.
Okay. Could you please show me? Would you
yeah,
please?
because we do have a we do have this assignment on this. So we have a detailed assignment on this. So we'll come to that later. No issues. Okay. So we'll come to that. Is that fine?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll come to that because we have a detailed assignment, because you need to create your chart of account through rapid spreadsheet. That is one of our assignment we have thought of. Okay, and that will really give you a good exposure, like how if you can set up your chart of account by say downloading a spreadsheet and uploading it, it is really helpful, isn't it? Yeah. So so this is the first spreadsheet. Now, so think of, like, if I add some segment here, say I'll say product. So product, there is no segment level required. I'll say PRD and say 5 is the total length. Now this is a macro based spreadsheet. So if I click here, add a segment sheet, you can see it has generated a segment sheet for product, and I can add the values. Similarly, if I go to cost center, I can see all the values for cost centers, as you see here. If I go to natural accounts, these values are already input, and once you take a pain to prepare the spreadsheet, you are done. Like just think of you are implementing a project. You are from prototype 1 or CRP1 to CRP2, so when you are in CRP2, you need to prepare an instance. But with the help of this spreadsheet, if it has been used in chart of in CRP1, with the help of this spreadsheet, you can upload your chart of account, ledger, legal entity, everything. Like based on whatever observation you have in CRP1, you can make some changes in the spreadsheet while doing the CRP1, and in few minutes you can just upload your chart of account structure in Fusion, and your instance is ready for use. So this is really helpful. Yeah, go on.
Thank you. This is really good feature for me. So if I have, say, 5,000 accounts,
yeah,
and one of the account, after uploading everything and during after go live, if I want to modify out of 5,000, say 20 accounts, if I want to modify, still can I use this spreadsheet?
No, you need to go to the system and manually end date one account, or change the description of the account. These are the main things like we do. You can add some more accounts manually.
I mean,
this is like,
I will put the question other situation. I'm trying to see basically can I modify or not, because during UATs itself, out of 4,000, I need to modify out of 5,000, I need to modify more than 50% of the records.
yeah.
So
In that case, in that case, I think the initial structure that we have put was not correct. In that case, you modify it in this spreadsheet and go to the first sheet, give a new name to your chart of account and load it again with a different name. Because your UAT instance is fine, like you say we'll have a new structure, because anyway if your 50% account are wrong, then whatever transactions you have entered, that might not hold good. But right, so if you want to change all your structure, then one option is like you define your new chart of account and upload it with the changes that you have made, but you can't update it with the spreadsheet. That is what I want to make.
okay, thanks.
Okay. Any questions, guys?
No question.
Okay. So yeah, we do have an assignment on this as well. So you need to do the assignment to create your own chart of account in the instance. Arijit will share the access details to you. You can create your, I think at least you can create your own project in the system. Yeah. And
one more quick question.
if you allow me, I can quickly take you to the assignment steps of this. Can we continue for another 10 minutes? Is that fine for all of you?
I'm okay.
10 is fine.
So quick question before you go to the other one. Can I add a cross-validation rules and segment security rules on this spreadsheet using?
Not on this spreadsheet, but there are other rapid spreadsheet you can use.
Perfect. Thank you.
This is the assignment that I have thought of. So let's quickly go through this assignment, and it will just help you to do the assignment throughout the day if you can try. If you have some time today, you can try. So I go to the implementation project here. Now you create your own implementation project. That is what the assignment says. Now if you see the steps here, high level steps, download the rapid. So first add a task by searching %rapid %common. So if I go here, I can do a plus and I can search here by %rapid %common. Sorry, maybe it is common %, so it should be other way around. Yeah, sorry for the confusion. So if you see here, define common financial configuration for rapid spreadsheet. So if I click that, apply and say done, so my task is assigned to the project. So you create your own project in the system and add the task. Once you do that, you can see this option, create chart of account, ledger, legal entity, business unit. So your main or basic common or basic common setup can be done through the spreadsheet. Now if you click this arrow button, that means it will download your spreadsheet for you. So it will be a blank spreadsheet. So if I open it, mind it, this is a macro based spreadsheet, so it will be XLSM. So if you see here, this is the one that we have just downloaded from the Fusion instance. It has got all the instruction how to do it. If you go to the chart of account, you can define your segments like company, natural account, cost center, etc., etc. There is a list of values. Okay, So you can try it, no harm, nothing will break. So you can try your own, and once you try that, and the steps are mentioned here like instruction. Once you I think you try loading only generate like of step 2 up to steps 2 to generate a chart of account zip file. So and validate it. So for example, I'll show you quickly like on the rapid spreadsheet that I have used here. So if I just remove this product section, or let me just close it and open it without saving. So if I just close it and say don't save, and I open it, I'll show you how the zip file is generated. So I'll open this again, and if I do a validate, first the validation has to go through. No error found, which is good. Now if I say generate chart of account, it will generate a file. You can put any name here, like I can put say my initial SDH and save it wherever I want to.
Mr. Shoykot, this is Sarideep. Is there a way we can share this so that at least they can use it as a reference, because this is it's a
Yes.
valid spreadsheet, so they can all benefit. They can try
Yes,
to create
definitely.
their own, but they can use it as a reference.
Yes, definitely. We'll share that. Share that. No issues. Okay. Fine. So once we save it, I think I've saved it in my desktop. Then we'll go to the instance, and if you see this option, upload chart of account. So if you click it, it will ask you to upload the file. But when you try it, make sure that you put your initial name in the chart of account name, so that it will not duplicate the chart of account, or put your own name altogether. Okay, so that it will not try to create the same chart of account and throw error. Okay, so here I think we have put it here. So I think I put SDH is something. Yeah. So I think I put it here only, desktop.
Yeah, I think at all the way at the bottom. I think I just saw it as DH account.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. Yeah. So once you add it, you just do a submit button, press submit button, and off you go. Okay, so this is how a spreadsheet can be uploaded. Aditya will share you the instance details and this spreadsheet as well. And with the help of the spreadsheet, you should be able to, generate your. You should be able to generate your chart of account structure on your own. And if you can do that exercise throughout the day, that will be good. And let me know if you face any issue tomorrow. And I think with that, we can close the session for today. Any questions, guys, before we officially close it for today?
Thank
Kumar?
you.
If no
Okay.
other questions, I have just one advice for all of you. Make sure that you put your initials. I just verified. If you put your first name initial, last name initials, we have a distinct unique combination. So make sure to use your initials. Otherwise, if it gets deleted, it's not. We cannot take responsibility for that. So just use your initials so that we're not getting into somebody else's configuration.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's
Okay.
fine. Okay, fine then. Thanks, guys, and see you tomorrow. Yeah.
You.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.